Welcome to the Attack Action Podcast,
where we talk about friendship, fun times, and most importantly, flesh and blood. Here are your hosts, Taylor and Isaac.
Hello, Attactioneers. Welcome to our podcast. What's up, Isaac?
Well, we're just about to sit down for a very nice chat with Tommy Fresh from Fresh and Buds.
Totally. Great podcast, great bud. If you haven't listened to the Fresh and Buds podcast, I urge you to do so. It's very good. And if you were hoping it has to do with weed stuff, it does not. It's just about flesh and blood and friendship.
Yep, just a fresh guy and a bunch of buds.
Yeah, I don't know what it is that's so catchy about the way Tommy Fresh says buds and uses it throughout the podcast and stuff. And it's they had their Airbnb buds house, it's just funny that it's just great.
He is very good at naming many things in the same vein, or the same theme.
Totally.
But yeah, seriously, I can't really speak highly enough about Fresh and Buds. Like, Tommy Fresh is just very enthusiastic and very positive about this game, but not in like a superficial, showman way.
Mm-hmm.
He's like just a genuinely very, like kind and excited, flesh and blood player. He also brings a lot to the community, on the content creator side and the, like virtual spaces like Discord and Twitter and all that. And it's just like a real asset to this community. So check out his podcast if you have not yet. Follow him, give him a high five when you see him. He's the man.
Yeah, he's great. And we're going to link his Twitter profile in the show notes. And then he's got in his Twitter profile his link tree. So we're promoting being in Flesh and Blood Twitter. I'll probably just put his show in there too if you want to stay out of the Twitter sphere. That's totally fine as well. So that'll be in the show notes. But yeah, go ahead.
News. The Pro Tour happened. We did a reaction step on it, talked about it extensively, and gave our takes.
Totally. Check out the Attack Action Podcast YouTube page, and you will know all of the things about us.
Last thing, or on to shout outs or something. I don't know.
Sure.
Thank you to everyone who submitted or is going to submit in the next 24 hours. Your Welcome to Wraith or Wraith themed radio commercial spot. They have been excellent and so enjoyable.
Totally. So that'll air the winner singular. Their commercial will air on this podcast partway through the interview. So you have that to look forward to. And then a lot of them have been so good that later in the podcast feed, I'm going to just stitch them all together. And you can listen to all the entries back to back in like one master supercut. So you have that to look forward to also. So you get your 30 seconds of fame, but you're not all winners. Sorry, I didn't mean it that way.
We might splash them into future episodes too, It's just totally. a real joy.
Yeah, it's been a great contest, and I appreciate all the hard work everybody has done for that. And thank you for supporting us. It means a lot. Anything else before we get out of here and hang out with Tommy Fresh?
ProQuest Season 2 is currently happening. Same meta. Sorry.
Great announcement.
Sorry. That was a joke.
Same meta. Cool. Well, after this, the next episode you guys should hear us on is a completion of our draft series. We're going into part 2 where we do a much bigger deep dive. So you have that to look forward to at the beginning of June. And yep, appreciate everybody. And we thank you all. And here's Thomas Fresh to his close dear friends. Enjoy. All right. And here we are with Thomas Fresh. How are you?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy to be here. How are you guys doing? A few people use my full name, Thomas Fresh, my given name.
Yeah, only your friends, right? That's how close we are.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me.
We're doing great. I'm so excited to have you on. Both me and Isaac have been on your podcast, and it has taken us a bit here to get you on, but here you are, ready to go, all the way from New Jersey, America. It's incredible.
Yeah, here in Jersey, it's great. Thank you so much. I do want to thank you guys for having me on. This is actually very exciting for me. You guys are guys I've looked up to since I started, and it was awesome that you came on, Taylor, and obviously you too, Isaac. And it's just like, oh wow, we're getting the whole gang together. It just feels amazing right now.
Thanks, man. That's awesome. Seriously though, because we just make a bi-monthly podcast, it just takes forever to get, like, you've been at the top of the list for a while, but then it's like there's the pro tour and we do an episode about draft or what, and then it's just like months roll by, unfortunately, but we're very happy to have you here.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I think it was like months in between you and Taylor being on my podcast. So,
Yep.
Scheduling is tough, but happy to be here.
Totally. So once LSS starts sponsoring podcasts and we can just live that, content creator only lifestyle, you're only getting 2 a month out of us, everybody.
I think we're going to have to wait on that one. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. Okay. So if you all just skipped ahead to this part of the episode, Thomas Fresh here is the host of the Fresh and Buds podcast, which you can find on all podcast platforms. So how about you give us your backstory? Start as far back as you want. Me and Isaac play lots of D&D, so we love a rich backstory.
Rich history.
Spoilers, well, maybe not spoilers. Me and Isaac just played D&D this last weekend, and I have I don't know why I'm telling this. I just feel inspired because I was excited. I have a very mysterious character, and some real intense game stuff happened, and I felt the need that my character would divulge their very shadowed past to the party. And it was a big moment for me. So
I don't
pressure's
know how
on.
shadowed. I don't know how shadowed my past is. I mean, there are some things I won't go into.
That was a weird
legal
bar to
reasons. But yeah, I mean, so I guess it goes far back as like high school for me. I started playing TCGs. I played a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh back then with some friends, and then I told myself and my friends, I said, I hate this game. I'm going to go find something else. and I found Magic the Gathering, and Magic at the time was really exciting. And I really fell in love with it. I played a lot of it for many, many years, both casually and competitively. I never really got into the Commander scene. It's not really my vibe necessarily. Maybe I just didn't find the right group. You mentioned D&D. I think Commander can be a lot like D&D, that you need a good group of folks playing, and I just never found that. But so I played a lot of Magic through the end of high school and into college. And as I was getting into college, a lot of my friends that I played with kind of stopped, but I kept playing. But I started moving into the online space, like Magic Online, Magic Arena. And it serves a purpose because I know that you guys love drafting. I love drafting. It's like one of my favorite ways to play Magic and Flesh and Blood. And it was super easy to just jam drafts on an online client, which was super cool. But, you know, and that it kind of started to lose its luster in the COVID years, right? You know, this is already flashing forward a couple of years, but we got into COVID. And I think I was just playing so much because we had so much time and we were inside so much that I kind of stopped loving it, and I was just playing it to waste time, and I would find myself just kind of losing focus, like, which was weird, to like lose focus in the middle of a game, and then I kind of realized that I think I missed that in-person stuff. And kind of at the same time, Flesh and Blood announced their organized play, which was super exciting. I think a lot of people got into the game around then. I think it was like, I don't know, maybe 2 months before Tales got released. I think it was like end of July. So when I heard that, I watched a couple videos. LSV did a couple videos on Channel Fireball. I watched them because I always listen to Limited Resources. That was like one of my favorite Magic podcasts. And I went out and bought some Blitz decks, and I bought all 4 of the Monarch ones. I bought Leviathan, Prism, Bolton, Chain.
Those are not easy to learn from. Those are very complicated and nuanced heroes.
Yeah. I think that so, you know, as many people like know, those Blitz decks were completely unbalanced to play against each other.
Yeah.
Like I remember like, oh, I'm going to try this Prism character. And I was like, oh, this Leviathan character just totally just spanks Prism. Why would anybody play this awful hero? And, you know, flash forward to the Vegas calling, it's freaking winning. And I'm like, oh God, you know, it's just like this, I thought this hero sucks, and I still think the hero sucks just to play against. But you know, I was playing around with those, and I think at the time I was like, wow, this just chain character is really, this chain hero is really strong, and you know, it turned out to be right. And you know, because I started looking at content, and everybody was talking about chain as the deck to beat, and Road to Nats kind of came around, and I guess before I even played in Road to Nats, I decided to make the podcast. And the reason was, I love podcasts. First of all, I think it's like one of the best forms of content out there.
Agreed.
In terms of, yeah. I mean, you guys get it, but it's one of the best ways to, I don't know. It feels the most human to me, I guess, because it's so conversation based, and you can get information out there, but you can also kind of get a feel for people.
Yeah.
And I knew that I couldn't be the, at the time, I couldn't be the Attack Action podcast of the world. I couldn't be the Arsenal Pass podcast of the world because I just didn't have the knowledge, but I still really wanted to talk about the game. And at the time, I just didn't have any friends who wanted to play or had the time to play. And I would be driving around my car for work, and I was like, well, I'm thinking about this game all the time. I might as well just start talking about it. So I just kind of messed around with some ideas and just kind of committed to it. And my first couple episodes were just me talking to myself, which it was more of a challenge to myself, I think, but it ended up being kind of fun. I still like doing that, though. I try to do, I guess, what do you even say? A guest most of the time.
Yeah.
Buds. I try to get the buds on all the time, and but the solo stuff can be kind of fun because you can kind of explore some fun space when you're just by yourself. But yeah, that's how I got into Fab and started doing a podcast.
Yeah, I was really impressed because I saw you started playing, and pretty shortly after, relatively, you started your podcast and kept making episodes. And it was just like an impressive, investment of your time and energy. And you just like kept at it, continued doing it. And, you know, I listened to all your episodes and they were great. And I was like, wow, this is just like hit the ground running, know what you want to do and keep doing it. You know, it's definitely impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And for me, I mean, you know, I've like always wanted to do a podcast. I've tried to get multiple friends to just do podcasts about stuff, including my wife. I was like, well, maybe we should do like a Stormlight Archives, like deep dive lore podcast or whatever. And then that was going to be like a little bit too much work, but it never occurred to me that I could do it by myself, you know? And you do a really good job at that, you know? So you're much braver than either me and Isaac are, that's for sure.
Well, I do appreciate it, and I do want to say that the reasons for me doing it by myself are not as I guess noble. I I had done a podcast with my best friend, my cousin, for a couple years, and really I did that podcast just as a reason to kind of have a reason to chat once a week, because you know life kind of got in the way, you know, girlfriends, wives, you know, etc. And that's what I wanted to do. But as I'm sure you guys know, scheduling around each other's lives is so tough. And when I sat down, decided to do this Flesh and Blood podcast, I said to myself, well, first of all, I don't know anybody personally that wants to do this with me. And also, if I did, I don't want to be kind of limited to what what their life is going on, because I knew I was really passionate about it. And before, and you know, I've never written off the idea of a permanent co-host. But I would need to know that they're in it 100% as well. And it's hard to, and I wouldn't blame anybody for not wanting to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's you guys are very lucky. You know, you guys are both kind of on the same wavelength. I don't think that happens often.
Yeah. It has taken us 28 years. And
yeah, we started at 6, so
yeah,
I'm a little
and it's not without its rocky parts, you know, like, because me and Isaac are such best friends, we're basically brothers, you know, so sometimes our relationship can be very brotherly. And so anybody who has a sibling who's very close in their age maybe knows what that's about, you know. I also want to say now to the larger community out there, Thomas Fresh is looking for a committed partner and is available. So if you like his profile,
some weird DMs.
yeah, hit him up.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, you know, that time hasn't come yet, but you know, I always told myself I'd just befriend a pro. And then they were going to be like, I want to do the podcast with you. And
there you go.
Hasn't panned out yet, but we're working on it. No, I'm still rocking solo.
That's what you were doing at the pro tour, was co-host shopping.
Yeah. I was saying, hey, who can handle the mic for like an hour? Hey, do you have an hour of your time right now? You want to come over and talk to me?
That's pretty great. So what's also cool is that your origin story is like, you know, I mean, you started well after we were into the game, but we started seeing, you know, LVS had done like some videos, and you know, the more well-known Magic community was starting to get a hold of the game. And you know, you think to yourself like, oh wow, that's going to bring a lot of people into the space, you know, and get to see the game and stuff. And so it worked. You're here. They mission accomplished for them. So that's cool to you know, meet somebody who comes up through that pathway.
I thought your story was really funny playing Yu-Gi-Oh. I fucking hate this game. Why am I playing this? I'm gonna go do something else.
My friends were just on this
cool.
yeah, my friends were just on this weird like nostalgia kick, and I was like, I didn't even like it when I was a kid. What are we doing as like almost adults playing this? It was like, let me Magic seemed a lot cooler, but I wish Flesh and Blood was around then, but it's around now.
Totally. It's better because I actually have adult money to waste. I don't know, somewhere in between those on the game. Yeah, invest. Yeah. Welcome to Coffee Table TCG, where we talk about investments.
Oh man, I'm not on the investment side of the game. I've made very few smart decisions with my money in terms of buying cards. I mean, I bought a lot of eclipses way too high. I'll tell you that. No, I made some money back, I think, but it's like, this card's got to spike again someday, Not
totally.
Not now.
I
Living
understand
legend.
that sentiment. So we want to know who your favorite hero is. Who's your main? What are you rocking? Etc. That's the burning question in everybody's heart right now.
And why?
And why? I think a lot of people do know, and if you don't know out there, it's Leviah, Shadowborn Abomination, and there's a lot of reasons why. And I know a lot of people like to make tentacle jokes. It's not the rumors are not true. I swear to God,
It's just a perk.
It's just a perk. It's just gravy, honestly. But I really enjoy her. This is not good. I enjoy her aesthetic, but also the cards in the Shadow Brute kind of class system or whatever. I love the art. I love the way the cards work. Rhinar, not so much. I think it just I don't like the discard, and I kind of like using your graveyard as a resource. I always thought that was really neat, and I also enjoy the thrill of almost killing myself like every game, and sometimes it pans out and sometimes it doesn't. It just feels good to win with something where your opponent has to read the cards.
Totally.
And Leviah can do that. I think the most common misconception about Leviah is, that she's just bad. No, it's not that she's bad. She is actually really good, but her inherent variance ends up kind of mitigating that goodness or that greatness that she can really put out there. So I enjoy that. I mean, I played her in a Pro Quest over the weekend, and I was playing against a really good Starvo player, and I beat Starvo, which I think is arguably her worst matchup right now. And he had to read so many cards, and it felt kind of cool. He's like, "Can you give me that list, please?" And like, I was like, "Man, you don't want this thing. It's gonna only give you just pain and suffering." But that's Levi's number one for me, and kind of will be for the near future anyway, until she gets too good, and then I'm like, I hate this.
Living legend. No,
she's gonna be the last. I don't know.
Azalea
maybe.
I know exactly what the Leviah engine that you like craft and run every game is like really fun, really fascinating. She's definitely like one of my top heroes just because it's so enjoyable to have. There's like a lot of different components. It's a very fascinating character for sure.
It feels so good to just play high rate cards that like required some actual work that you want to do anyway, if that makes sense. Like the pitch of blue red Dread Screamer into Graveling Growl is just feels great every single time you do it.
Yeah, totally. So wait, okay, well, I have a few questions here. One, is just a statement and it's not a question. Levia is too much for me to handle. Like every time I play her, I'm like, oh my God, this is the stress that Blasphemet is breathing down my neck and going to consume me is a little too much, like there's just something about it that is like pretty tough for me. Whereas like something like Kano, previous to New Jersey America Pro Tour, was considered like, not very good and maybe hard to play also. That like scratches a different itch in my brain where you're like, I don't know, there's some amount of like maybe cleverness that goes into that deck. Not saying it doesn't happen with Levia, it's just a different type. So my question is two things. One, what do you think it takes for Hexagore to be an actually good weapon? And two, give me the tournament report from this ProQuest where you're just crushing Starvo in between those monster thighs.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time I've been told I have monster thighs, but
that's due to the hair, not the size. Yeah.
But
coloration.
The Hexagore question is interesting. Ever since they said that each hero has a weapon kind of attached to them that will go living legend with the hero, it has been interesting to me because I was looking at it, I was like, well, Levias is Hexagore, and I think it will take Hexagore to be good in order to have a chance for Levia to hit living legend, if that makes sense, right? If Hexagore is good, Levia is probably, at the best spot she can be. And what is going to take for Hexagore to be good? That's a great question. Honestly, I think it's giving Levia some soul shackles or something. I would assume. I think if they print like a shadow, like a non-classed shadow card that says, make a soul shackle go again, and you can put that into Levia, I think all of a sudden Levia looks great, and Hexagore looks even better, because then you don't have to worry about not banishing the 6. Like if you hit the 6 on the soul shackle that turn, he's like, all right, well, I'll swing with the Hexagore. If you want to play, you can play like a cool, like a fatigue plan with Hexagore. It's just kind of cool.
Yeah, I can see that. Like Dimensional Crossroads maybe fills that niche, right? Because Hexagore is for 2, right?
Yeah.
So if you got to at some point like have a 1-costed non-attack action that like ops the top of your deck, and you can then banish a card off the top of your deck, then that like fills your banish zone quicker and maybe also banishes a 6 off the top without having to attack. And then so for a blue and a card in Arsenal, you can then swing Hexagore with getting to opt that top card and like banishing and maybe filling up your graveyard.
Yeah, well, that's interesting you say that. You can do that with Blood Tribute right now.
Oh, right.
Now
the blue just opts 1. In my Hexagore deck, I ran blue Blood Tributes though, because you could save yourself that way when you needed to block like out of Arsenal. But yeah, it's just Hexagore is the coolest weapon, but it's just you have to wait to use it, and then you have to manufacture go again unless you have a Screamer, which is like the only enabler. But then it also usually costs you 4 resources, which is like the brute hang up, right? Is like it costs a bunch of cards, doesn't do a ton, and then it costs 4. That's my least favorite part. I love playing brutes, but I wish everything didn't cost 4. That's my little rant.
I mean, it's like Hexagore is good after a Blood Rush Bellow, actually. You're doing 2 resources for 8 as opposed to 4 resources for 10 with your claws.
Mhm.
I think there's a world where Hexagore is kind of a threat. I think it takes a slower meta that we have right now, but I think we'll see it. Uh, There's a reason they printed that card, and I'm sure it's on the horizon.
I mean, I've been saying that also about Dread Scythe since Monarch, and it is also extremely unplayable.
This day has not come.
I did a video about Dread Scythe not too long ago, and I was talking about like we're gonna build a control Briar with Crown of Seeds and Dread Scythe, and I don't know how it's gonna work. You're just gonna play it like a Guardian, I guess, but that's what you have to do to play that card. It's a real stretch.
Taylor
Yeah,
made one of those.
Yeah, I've also thought about just like, what if my whole deck was blue? There's such a huge card pool now with Runeblade. Like maybe I can do it, So you just like, but it's you're like, right, but then all my attacks do like 2 damage. So what am I really doing? Nothing. That's what.
Nothing good. Yeah. No.
Yeah, totally. I'm gonna need 2 hours to complete this game plan.
Yeah. But in terms of the tournament over the weekend, finally played well with Levia. I've played well with Levia before, but I showed up to this Pro Quest at Owl Central Games in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, out in the middle of nowhere. And, it was a good size. It was 20 people playing. So not too bad it was the store's first Pro Quest. And we had some heavy hitters there, like Cody Williams showed up, trying to get chained to the living legend, I guess. But, which is it's just gonna happen. But I actually didn't play against him, luckily. But round 1, I did play against Chain, which is a tough matchup for Levia in general. I'm on this Claws build, and I am playing a Singleton blue Blood Tribute. I don't know if it's because I want to be different or if it's actually good, but I found it to be pretty decent. And I'm playing some other singletons like 1 Pulping, 1 Writhing Beast Hulk, just like these cool little finishers that are also kind of good early in the game as well. And so round 1 was Chain. Somehow won that game. It was very close. Round 2, I played Briar, which really just couldn't keep a Channel Mount Heroic out. I think that would basically help my game plan. My game plan was a lot of rolling scab skins. I was feeling pretty lucky that day, and it panned out. I was just like, I have to race. Like this meta, you just have to race. And I was like, all right, let's get after it. And then round 3 was I took my first loss against Oldham, but it was it was actually a friend of the pod, Rose Smith, and she's on this. Well, she's on Icelander, but she wanted to play Icelander in the Pro Quest, but Icelander isn't out. So she just basically converted her Blitz Icelander deck to Oldham, and it's just all ice. And it was just like I was like, this is a nightmare for me because you're just like, oh, Winter's Bite, oh god, yeah, pitch, and then I would discard actually more so with that Beast Within that was nice, but but it just the frost bites and the ice reacts. It's just bad news for Levia. So took that loss. Then I played Starvo, and Starvo is typically a bad matchup, but that was one of those matches where I mentioned before he's reading all the cards. He's like never seen anyone play Levia, and he's a really great player. And I understand why he's never seen anybody play Levia, but eked out that win somehow. And then round 5, I did play against Prism, which is my best matchup, mostly I would say. And then in the top 8, I played against Prism again in the first round. And God, you just the rolls were too hot that day because I drew that hand that was blue Dread Screamer, 2 Shadow Puppetries, and 1 red Howl from Beyond. And I was like, I guess, Blue Dread Screamer into Ghostly Visit from Banish, and they had the aura that gives -1. So it was just 3 and 3, and I just totally lost all the momentum and tempo there. But it was fun. It was good to top 8 an event, and I've been playing for almost a year now, and I haven't played a ton of huge events, and sure, I play a lot of not meta decks, but it felt good to kind of convert a little bit.
Hell
And,
yeah, dude. That's awesome. I mean, that's the
yeah.
dream, right? Is like to specialize in a hero and then get rewarded with, a level of success. Some people I think are all of the like, you got to win the event for, the ultimate prize. But for me, if you can just like top 8 any event, like that's really good. Only 8 people make it to top 8. So that's like an elite category, no matter what your outcome is right away in top 8. So congratulations, dude. We have a deep brute following here on the podcast, and I would maybe call them like, well, Isaac has 2 cohorts of acolytes. He has ranger acolytes and he has brute acolytes for sure. And so they're going to be psyched about living vicariously through you on that story. So there you go.
I've been, I guess I play a lot of Leviathan still. I've been retired off Rhinar for a bit now, though. Just waiting for some upgrades.
Yeah, fair enough.
Keep waiting, my friend.
Classic Battles is coming out.
True. I saw some cards. Not too bad. Almost playable in Leviathan too. We'll see. Almost.
Yeah, they might almost be playable in the decks themselves. We'll see.
The one that opts a 6 from the top seems pretty good.
That does seem good. Yeah.
Yeah. Keeps a 6 on top and then puts a non-6 on bottom. I think that it could be good. I see people talking about some Shadow of Blasphemous. It takes away the variance on Shadow of Blasphemous a little bit. So we'll see.
Yeah, sorry, this is too specific, but I recently took the Shadow of Blasphemous out of my deck because it felt like every time I hit on that card, I set up and I won the game. And every time I missed, I lost the game. And I was like, this is not a good plan. I need a better plan. So I took him out and I've been running it without him. Swing bigs instead.
Oh yeah. I was off of Shadow of Blasphemous for a while, but then I kind of put him back in just because I think it's good in like the grindy matchups, just to kind of get those engine cards. But you do not want it when you're trying to race. I think that card is just can give you the heartbreak.
Yeah.
Totally. 100%.
All right, I have some rapid fire questions here for you. If Taylor, was that all that?
Yeah, I believe so.
Nice. So this is pulled inspired by your podcast. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, favorite weapon?
Like all time, Raiden.
Ooh,
good call.
Nice. Is that true, or are you just flirting with Taylor?
Oh, I don't know. It is true. I love the challenge of building with Raiden, and it's just so cool. And it was like my first foil, like majestic weapon I've ever pulled, and I was like, this card's so cool.
It's so cool. You're like, it costs 0 and is for 3. That's like, you just love it every time you pull it off. You're like, I'm winning.
All right, favorite equipment?
Carrying Husk.
Yep.
Yeah. Just start at 46. I don't know. It's like, feels good.
In Leviathan, also, you don't take blood debt from it once you block with it, which is actually pretty big. That's a nice little bonus. All right, favorite non-majestic card?
Non-majestic. This has got to be Dread Screamer. I know this is going to be kind of on brand, but I think Dread Screamer is just such a satisfying card to just jam into somebody's face, I guess.
It is. It's a very fun card. The artwork on that card makes me kind of sick. It's one of the gnarliest in the game.
Yeah, it really is.
All right. And last one. Who's your favorite hero outside of the brute class?
This one is tight because I'm gonna have to go Bolton. I do love Bolton, the way he plays. Not so much Sabers. I know Sabers is probably the best version of Bolton, but Bolton is just so much fun. And God, I want to make Vestige of Soul work in Bolton somehow so bad. It just like it's not fair that Carrion Husk is playable in both Shadow classes and then Vestige is only playable in Prism. I don't know. That's a rant for another day, I guess.
That's all right. I mean, I'm loving these anti-Prism takes. You know, it's great. Getting everybody riled up. I agree with you 100%. I had this insane jank build for Bolton to try to beat Chain in that first ProQuest season because I had already earned, or excuse me, Road to Nat season. I had already earned my like invite to nationals. So I was like, all right, now how do I counter this deck? Won't that be fun? And I had this whole Vestige of Soul, Tome of Divinity, like combo thing going on with stubby hammers and stuff. And
that sounds so cool. I mean, it's just like, that is like everything I've ever wanted to do. I mean, in Bolton and more, you know, I tried to make the same thing work, and
it for sure worked. It was like a very big turn, but it really dictated it was really predicated on like when you could do it in the game. If you do it like mid game, you have like a 50-50 chance to win. And if it comes up late game, you're dead. And if it comes up early game, you can win. But it was just like too much variance. But it was like pretty fun. You're like, I'm like basically Prism right now, but working way harder for this Tome of Divinity play.
Honestly, this conversation is a conversation I had with a local player, me, Jim from Eye of the Storm, that team, and we just bounce back ideas like this. And you know, he plays in the Pro Tour. He's very good, and you know, and then there's me, this guy who's like trying to bring him over to the dark side. Hey, listen, you know, what if we made Hexagore work? You know. But this is, oh God, this is speaking my language.
Hell yeah. Well, that's why we're friends. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that so like not excitedly, you know.
No, no, I get it, man. I get it.
So let's change gears a little bit here. So like as a content creator and kind of a podcaster specifically, you know, what role do you feel that like podcasting or content creators, but probably more specifically podcasting, serves in the like Flesh and Blood community?
This is gonna sound super biased, and maybe it is, but I think podcasts are the most important to the lifeblood of a game, right? It doesn't matter what we're talking about, if we're going into deep dive strategy or if we're just talking about just how we can fix how LGSs approach the game or something like that, right? There's a myriad of different conversations we could all have, and that people are probably thinking and having conversations in their everyday life with their other friends that play Flesh and Blood. But once they hear it on the radio waves or the podcast waves, it kind of brings validation, right? And in edited videos and it's all that kind of content's great. I don't hear and see people talk about the last video so-and-so did. I do hear and see people talk about, hey, did you catch what they were talking about on you know, Arsenal Pass the other week? did you guys catch what they were talking about on Attack Action podcast last week? It's a zeitgeist thing, I think, and it, it's a long form thing, and kind of can take up a lot of people's times, like, and something that people can do while they're, listen to while they're doing whatever. I've had a listener tell me that, the podcast got them through a really like crappy job. And that's something that, like, a video, like, you can't watch a video like that. And maybe I'm just like some kind of audio boomer. It's just like, I love listening to podcasts. It's the, harks back to the old talk shows and AM radio and stuff like that. Which I don't know. I think it serves a huge purpose, and I hope that people value it and continue to value it.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, because just for me personally, like, I'll watch YouTube videos or gameplay videos sometimes, or when they're important or pertinent or whatever. But, you have to, like, stop your day and watch this thing for 45 minutes, which is just fine. But it's like a completely separate type of content. Like, I really enjoy how many great podcasts we have in Flesh and Blood, because I can, like, when I'm doing my morning workout, or when I'm, like, driving for an hour or whatever, I can, like, put on a podcast and listen to it, while I'm doing this thing where I can have my concentration on the podcast, but it can, like, make it a lot more enjoyable. And podcasts are the only thing that fills that role. Like, when everybody was at the Pro Tour, I was like, damn it, everybody's at the Pro Tour not making content. It's like, like, exercise or whatever. And it's just like, there's no new episodes anywhere.
Yeah.
Tommy, I think that's a great point you made. And I asked this question because I don't really know how to answer it. You know what I mean? Like, I am still unsure what role me and Isaac play in the larger community. Like, Arsenal Pass has, like, a very defined role. They're all about, like, leveling up in the world of Wraith. You know what I mean? And me and Isaac try to do that to some degree, but then we also spent a lot of our time, like, talking about us and two other buddies, like, local little tournament we had with each other, like it was like a big deal in 2020 or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like, what value is that providing, or what is that? So sometimes I'm I enjoy making the podcast, and it's always really fun, and it's a great way to get to engage with the game in a different way. But sometimes it's like, because there is no audience you get to see. You just talk to your bud or not, and then you post it, and you're like, cool, I guess I'll think about the next thing I'm going to do, and so there's sometimes little feedback, depending on who you are or whatever. So it can be like, what do I need to do? Where do I fit in, so.
Yeah, I understand that too. And in a way, it's, it's like a performance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
There's a lot of times when, I would say almost like always, right? I record a podcast, and I'd like to say I remember most of what happened, but I don't, because I'm, like, so in the moment when I do it. And I think that's true for a lot of people. I could always go look back at notes or whatever, but I think it's a benefit of podcasting for the listener too, because they're kind of experiencing somewhat of a performance, like, thing, not so much, theatrical, but you are just having a talk, and sometimes you can go look back at some talks, but also the best thing about them is they kind of stay in that space after you leave them. Right. And that's the beautiful thing about listening to a podcast.
Right. And as a person who is a professional lecturer in my day job, it is a performance. I'm very tired after a day of teaching, and it's not so much like, being on my feet in front of a chalkboard. It's the having to be interesting for 50 minutes, and then you get 5 minutes to not go to the bathroom and you got to do it again, So, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. But the idea that we're part of like the zeitgeist, and Isaac, your point about videos, like I only watch videos like while I'm eating, basically, like having my coffee, eat and my breakfast before I go to work is my chance to like, watch 5 minutes of something. So it does make that type of content maybe a little bit more shallow or that sort of thing. And there's a lot of gameplay I don't get to because I'm like, man, I don't have 50 minutes to watch this. But I listen to podcasts like all day long when I'm not at work, So
Yeah,
good points, both.
It's tough because especially as we're coming out of this pandemic, or supposedly coming out of this pandemic, people are going to be forced to go back to work, right? They're going to be commuting and they're going to have to be on their office computer, and this is some podcasts, that's where they thrive, right? In the commute, on the train, in the car, whatever, and that's just something that a lot of other content can't do. And people have real lives, and that's something a podcast can really facilitate.
And just from my perspective, it has been nice, like you for Fresh and Buds, and we both have a Discord community, and a Twitter presence and all these things where we can interface, to the degree that we want with our community. Which definitely helps, because like as Taylor and I started out, it was just really like recording it and uploading it and being like, well, that was fun. And then, playing our Battle Bros tournament and then doing it again, but now that the game has gotten so big and there's like these online or virtual communities to interact with, that does help give a bit of feedback, and you get to engage with some of the, some of your friends that you made through the game.
Yeah, it feels good to have people stoked when you release that podcast. It's those first, the early days when you're just like, God, I hope somebody listens to this goddamn thing. I just talked to myself for 50 minutes. I mean, I guess no, you're right. And the Discord thing it's something I think unique to gaming podcasts in general, is that we get to kind of have our pulse on our community and our listenership, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. I have another kind of question for y'all. Do you guys kind of have do you guys taste that? What flavor is it? Oh, that's right. We have a very special surprise segment here from the graveyard or the banished zone. What flavor is it? All right, Tommy and Isaac, we are going to be playing Flesh and Blood trivia. Okay.
Oh,
so here is the game. So I have 6 questions, and each of you is going to get 3. And I'm going to read a bit of flavor text from a card in the game Flesh and Blood. Then you're going to have 3 options, A, B, and C. One of them is the correct person who is speaking. Another one is some shit I made up. And then the third one is a real person, in quotes, in the game of Flesh and Blood, but it's not them who said it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your intro made me feel like Boneyard Marauder. Just chomping on some graveyard stuff for lunch.
Oh my God.
Num, num, num.
Now, no cheating. I have you on video so I can see if you're typing. Okay. And I don't want to hear any keyboards. There are 3 points possible in each question. Are there any questions before we begin?
Oh God, no, I don't think so.
So Tommy's going to get 3 questions separately, and then I'm going to get 3.
Correct. Now,
Okay.
it's up to you guys. I couldn't figure out if I wanted to give a chance to steal here. But I'll leave it up to you guys. So
I just hope somebody gets one right.
well, before when I did this segment with just you, Isaac, you got them right like all of the time, and they were too easy. So I hopefully have made it a little bit more challenging.
Nice.
Okay. So remember, there's one I made up, one that is correct, but not the right card. That makes sense?
Okay.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Who would like to go first?
Go ahead, Isaac.
All right. Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay, Isaac,
yeah,
you're
we'll
up.
warm you up.
Okay, so here's number 1. Here is the quote. So if I grab and then connect, that's it. You want to hear that again?
No.
Okay. Is it A, Dr. Mortimer, the fixer, B, dash, or C, minor? Which is what? Dead air is also really good for the podcast.
Dr. Mortimer.
Is which one?
What? Is
Well,
correct.
Is the person who said it? Final
I have
answer?
to guess all 3. I thought I just had to guess the correct one.
You have to guess which. There's 3 points possible. Which one's the one that's made up? Which one is the correct person? And which is a person in flesh and blood, but who hasn't said this particular quote?
Okay, so Dr. Mortimer is correct. Dash is a real flesh and blood character, and minor, I'm not even sure how you're spelling that, is the made up one.
Oh, good. You could have asked a clarifying question. So, Isaac, unfortunately, you only got 1 point out of that. The correct answer we were looking for is dash, and bonus points if anybody knows what card this is.
I stay away from mech cards usually.
You're out of time. It's from Spark of Genius. Thank you for playing. Minor is the one I made up. Okay. Now,
I think
Tommy,
I know the least amount of dash cards of any class.
Exactly. That's why I picked it. Okay. All right, Mr. Thomas Fresh. Are you ready for your question?
It's 1-0. Don't let that intimidate you.
I'm not intimidated yet. Yeah, well, I'm a little intimidated. I'm getting 0 on this one. I know it. All right, hit me.
Here it is. And in abandoning the light, I am consumed by the shadow and gifted true power. So, was it A, Hail the Knight of Thorns, B, Sutcliffe, or C, Eldon Lost Knight? So which one is correct? Which one did I make up? And which one is also a person in flesh and blood, but did not say this?
Jeez. I think that it was said by Lord Sutcliffe, and then I'm going to say that Eldon was not real, and Hale was the person that's in flesh and blood, but did not say it.
Okay. 0 points correct on that one. You called it, though. It is actually Eldon Lost Knight. Bonus points if anybody knows what card this is.
Can we hear the quote again?
In abandoning the light, I am consumed by the shadow and gifted true power.
Mordred Todd.
Nope. It's
is it
Tome
the new
of the Arknight. Sorry, Isaac. We just can't wait around for everybody to think all the time. So Eldon the Lost Knight. I made up Hail the Knight of Thorns, which is pretty good because I figured you guys would know it was a rune blade and it would throw you off. And Sutcliffe is a real character in the game of Flesh and Blood. Thank you, On to the next question. Okay, Isaac, are you ready?
I am.
Okay, here we go. Should you wish to see the future, know this. What has been seen cannot be unseen. Is it A, Vera, B, Jira, or C, Lieutenant Yamada?
It's Vera, and Jira is also a character in Flesh and Blood.
And then so Lieutenant Yamada is the one I made up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you get 1 point on that one. You are correct. It is Vera. Jira, I made up, but Lieutenant Yamada is a character in Flesh and Blood. Bonus points if anybody can name this card.
Potion of Clarity.
False.
Index.
Nope, it is
Potion
Fate
of
Foreseeing.
Seeing. Oh, dang.
Okay, great job. The score
Well,
is
we got a
2-0 Isaac.
we got a quote I've heard before though. That was nice.
Totally. Pretty good. Okay, are you ready, Thomas Fresh?
Hit me.
Okay, here we go. Nobody says that to my mama. Was that A, Thunk, B, Torak, or C, Thackerg?
Oh man, come on, dude. Oh, jeez.
Would you like to hear that again?
Not particularly, but
So the
oh
quote
yeah,
is,
sure, hit me. Yeah.
nobody says that about my mama. Was that A, Thuck, B, Torak, or C, Thackerg?
I'm gonna say it's the person who said it was it Thok?
Yep.
Thunk?
Yeah.
Thunk, Thok. And then I'm gonna say the person that is from the game but didn't say it is Thorak. Right?
Okay.
And then the other one was I don't know what the other one was called, but
Thackerg?
Thacker is not real.
You, my friend, got 3 out of 3 on that one. It takes the lead. Very
Commanding
exciting. Bonus points if anybody knows what card that is.
Swing with Big Tree.
Ooh, close. Very close. It is
Smash
Swing
Instinct.
Fist.
Oh, dang.
Swing Fist, Think Later. Very good. Very good. All right. Woo. Very exciting game. I'm very happy we're doing this. All right, Isaac, are you ready?
I am.
Okay. Back in my day, folk used weapons made of metal. Was that A, Macho Grande, B, Lishu Crimson Haze Vigilante, or C, Hishu Crimson Haze Elder?
It was the Crimson Haze Vigilante. And
Yeah, nice.
well,
Think it
Mantra
out.
Grande is a card. Is that not going to count? I'm going to say the Mantra Grande is really in the game because it is a card. All right, that's my pick.
Okay, bit of a trick question there, but you nailed it. You got 3 for 3 on that one, taking a commanding lead, 5-3. What card is that one?
I'd have to hear the quote again.
Back in my day, folk used weapons made of metal.
Lightning Press.
Ooh, correct. For a bonus point that
Oh.
doesn't count for really anything, but we'll mark it down just in case. Okay, Thomas.
Yes,
This is
All
your
right.
time to shine, baby.
I guess. All right.
This is it.
Hit me.
All you need is 3 for 3 here. Pressure's on. You can
All
do
right.
it. All right. Are you ready?
Yes. Hit
Okay.
me.
2 drops with your hops. That'll see you right if things get rowdy. Was that A, Jezebel, Everfest, Alchemist, and All Sorts? B, Jezebel, Everfest, Wise Woman, and All Sorts? Or C, Jezebel, Everfest, Ringmaster, and All Sorts.
It's messed
So
up.
the Alchemist, all right, the Alchemist said it. The Wise Woman is in the game and the Ringmaster is fake.
Triple down with the foolery here. All three of those are in the game, and you got them all wrong. But because of that, we're giving you a bonus 2 points for being such a good sport. So we have a tie game, and we're going to go into our lightning round here. But who knows what card each of these is from?
Wait,
two
is
drops.
this the lightning round? What's happening?
No. This is just, we got to know what card this is. 2 drops with your hops. That'll see you right if things get rowdy. What card is that?
Potion of Strength?
Incorrect.
Ironhide potion? I don't know.
Correct, Isaac. Another bonus point for you. Great job.
Yes. I have
Feel like
separate bonus points.
Tommy Fresh kind of gets the assist there for taking one of those off the list. The Jezebel, Everfest, Alchemist, and All Sorts is Potion of Seeing. Jezebel, Everfest, Wise Woman, and All Sorts is Potion of Luck. So that means Everfest, Ringmaster, and All Sorts, Potion of Ironhide. Okay, lightning round for the tiebreakers. Are you guys prepared? So this is slightly different format now. You can only answer with true or false. Does that make sense? So these are going to be true or false questions. You're going to give me either true or false. Are you ready to begin, Isaac? It is you up first.
I am ready.
Okay, minus 1 point for not answering true or false. Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, question 1. True or false? There are 310 cards in the set of Monarch.
False.
That is correct. There are 307 cards in the set of Monarch. Over to you, Tommy. Astra Morena is a character featured in flavor text. True or false?
Oh, man. False.
No, I'm sorry. It is true. It is the character on Valiant Thrust who says, "Do not falter. These fiends shall die like any other beast we have faced." Okay?
I knew that one.
You did. I wish you had gotten it. Okay, Isaac, over to you. True or false? The Iron Assembly is the home of Data Doll.
True.
Correct. You're crushing it. Buried deep beneath Iron Assembly headquarters, there lies a vast secret chamber. Inside rests Data Doll, a steam-powered automaton delicately suspended by a web of wires and hoses. Night and day, her mnemonic mind surges with an influx of data reported from all across metrics. Her purpose, to provide pertinent data to the Iron Assembly's most elite members. Great job. All right. Now, over to you, Mr. Tommy Fresh. True or false? Cavdane's true passion is art.
I'm going to say false.
That is incorrect. It is true. While Cavdane may present himself as a salesman, his true passion lies in the arts. One of the most well-known names in his field, Cavdane has established a reputation for his abstract yet lifelike sculptures. Of course, he uses only the finest materials for his projects, carefully dissecting each body to harvest every last scrap of flesh and bone. All right.
Man. You guys are really showing my lack of lore knowledge.
We're trying to hit everything here. Okay, Isaac, over to you. True or false?
I'm ready.
Objects can be a card, token, macro layer, or player.
False.
That is correct. Players are part of the game, but not objects. All right. Ooh, my page is maybe frozen. Nope, we're good. Okay. Final question for, let's see how many points Isaac has. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus 2 bonus questions. Tommy, this is for 8 points exactly to beat Isaac, or whatever the exact math is there. All right. Final question. True or false? Flesh and Blood was originally going to be called Classic Battles.
Oh, no. I'm going to say false again.
That is correct. I have no idea what they were going to call Flesh and Blood, if anything other than that. Congratulations, Tommy Fresh.
Wow.
You get all of the clout. You win the last final question. Great job. Congratulations. What are you going to do with your championship?
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to, I don't know what I'm going to do. Honestly, it's just great. I just can't believe I pulled that one out in the end.
Yeah, totally. Really dramatic from half court, last second shot. Isaac, sorry. Good job. You tried really hard. You did excellent, but not good enough.
Hey, Isaac, why don't you just get good, man? I don't know.
I just should have done better.
I tell him that all the time. Just do better.
That was a pretty fun lore side quest we just went on.
You like that?
Yeah.
I tried to hit something from everywhere. The notes, the set collection, trying to get all facets that you can find on the main website there.
It felt like some ambush journalism to me. I don't know.
Awesome. Great. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun putting that together. So I'll try to do it some more in the future, I think,
All right.
Tweet at me if you guys liked it. Yeah, I don't know how to segue out of that. Maybe we'll
just smoothly moving along here.
Well, we'll take a quick break. I'll put in some cool music, and then we'll be able to transition back into the ending part of our episode. How does that sound?
Great.
Beautiful.
Okay. We'll see you all after this short. Oh, maybe this is a great moment to put in our ad break. We'll see you guys after our nice ad break we have from our contest we've been running.
Have you ever been belittled by brutes? Perhaps you've been overwhelmed by non-stop ninja naughtiness. Tired of being whipped by wizards and warriors? Are you wrecked non-stop by rune blades?
Then what you need is Techlo. At Techlo Industries, we provide the tech you need to survive the wilds both in and outside the city of Metrix. At its core, Techlo is all about speed, and our products are legendary. We have the heart and the drive to keep you alive. Techlo Industries, building a better future, yesterday.
And we're back and ready to go here. So back to the main set of questions. Tommy, you and I did an episode on your cast about draft, and you said earlier how you really love draft. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on the upcoming set.
Well, I'm certainly excited about it. One of my main complaints with the game is always every set should be draftable. Everfest felt like it felt like such a weird gap, and it is exciting that we're going to get some more draft and Uprising. However, I am interested to see how 2 Draconic heroes and 1 Ice hero is going to work. There's not a lot of precedent in Flesh and Blood drafting outside of the four hero, and then we got Tales of Aria, the 3 hero with the mixed elements. So I am interested to see how they pull this one off. I did a video with Flake about, who's the 4th hero. We all thought that they were going to reveal the 4th hero, and it doesn't sound like that's happening unless there's some kind of like majestic hero that you can get and pick almost like you would like a majestic weapon. but that seems like a stretch, but why not stretch and get a little limber, when talking about Flesh and Blood. But I have some theories that, I think that Icelander must be so good, right, in this set that the other heroes are so good that they're going to be fighting so much that Icelander gets so many cards available at the table. And I know James White mentioned that we're going to get some kind of crack bobble-esque attack. That'll be interesting to see how that works. And then I think we're getting a headpiece that slots in.
Like a token?
I have I have a theory that maybe the headpiece somehow lets you play both elements. I don't know if there's any validity to that, but it seems like a nice way to kind of balance out draft pods. But all that being said, I hope it works out, and I hope that this is not the norm going forward. I think adding more and more things outside of the draft into the decks might take away from the experience, but I'm excited to play it regardless. And I'm not going to hold any final judgments till we see how it is, but it just seems to me if your draft goes poorly, you can just add these attacks and it's fine. I think you have to be rewarded for being a good drafter and maybe not so much rewarded for being a poor drafter. But that's my opinion.
I took it as the cracked baubles are still really bad, but you can actually get them out of your deck if you pay the high price or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That I could definitely see that happening. It's interesting if how they handle that, because I hope that there isn't a way to break that, right? Currently you can run a deck full of cracked baubles and your deck would just be bad. But what if somebody finds a way to break this attack bauble or a crack
I don't know.
bauble?
It would have to be. It most likely is way under curve, right? Like a 3-costed red that attacks for 2 and doesn't block or something. So at least you can play it, or maybe it does have a defense value, but its defense value is 0, right? So you can defend with it, but it doesn't do anything. Yeah, I'm really interested. I wish I was a better game designer to think of how to solve this, right? Because it's obviously there's going to be more draconic cards in every pack. So then drafting Icelander becomes really hard, right? But then if they equally distribute the number of cards Icelander can run versus the draconic heroes, then it just means that Icelander's card pool is just way bigger, in the draft pool. So then that's maybe the hero that feels open, I'm not sure. I do like the idea of maybe there being a cool piece of equipment that you can open, like pack one, pick one, and that allows you to stay open. It's add whatever to your hero, you gain element of, or the elemental trait and essence of ice or something like that with your frost crown,
That sounds pretty broken to me.
But then it maybe replaces who you are, not that you get both talents.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So if you happen to maybe get a lot of those cards in pack 2 or something, you can then pivot. I don't know. This is obviously why I make podcasts, not design games.
My main concern is for because I feel like Lexi is kind of a precedent in Aria, right? Where if there's not too many people picking it, it can be really strong. But as soon as too many people start picking it, it's only a third of the cards or whatever, then it gets really weak, right? So I kind of see that dynamic as the Icelander dynamic. Who knows if that's how it'll pan out, but I have no idea how this plays out in sealed, right? And they have these big sealed events, like callings are sealed, I think just for logistical reasons. But then it's going to be weird if every pack has, twice as many draconic cards. That's kind of my burning question, right? Is like, how does this translate into I don't really care about sealed. It just, the way it plays out is there's actually a lot of sealed events to accommodate the number of players. So, I'm really interested to see that.
I think another thing, like the logic here that you can kind of look at this set and be like, well, LSS could have easily taken the easy way out and just done 4 heroes. So,
Right.
And James White came out and said this is the best draft experience they're ever putting out. So, I mean, we have to put a little faith in him saying that.
He did say that in Aria too, for Tales of Aria.
Yeah, did he say that? Because that was definitely the Aria pitch.
Yeah.
Which it was, in my opinion. But
yeah, it's really good. It's still really good. It's just, there was a period, I'll let you finish here in a second, but there definitely was like a period when Tales of Aria came out and we were like, is this a good draft set? It's like really fast and there's no arcane barrier and it feels not balanced, clunky or stupid, or I don't know. It didn't feel good initially, but once we kind of learned the set, you were like, oh, very, very much deep strategy. That's not a great sentence, but the depth of the draft was there, and it wound up being like, it is a really, really good set and really fun to draft, but I don't know if I would put it above anything else because the gameplay for me is too quick.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Tales of Aria games are just over super, super fast. So, and that's part of the experience too. The drafting part is great, but the gameplay for me has a little left to be desired.
Yeah, and I agree. Well, yeah, I guess if he said it before Tales and he's saying it before Uprising, I guess he's not lying, right? This is the best yet. It's like he could just say that every single time. This is gonna be the best yet. It's funny. I used to work for a brewery, and every new beer we put out, the owner would be like, "This is the best beer we ever made." Like, well, you said that for the last one. I don't know what you're talking about, but that aside, yeah, I think if this 3 hero, 2 draconic, 1 ice thing wasn't working, I think they would have seen that early and just jammed that 4th hero in. And I've never actually drafted Monarch, which was the other dual talent set, so I'm not really sure if maybe they weren't exactly happy with how that drafted, and that's why they're kind of taking this leap into the kind of lean more heavy draconic. And it could also be like, we don't need to put more ice cards out into the world, which I'm cool with.
But then why put Icelander in the set? You know what I mean? Unless I mean, like, mechanically she works really well as like, because there's got to be a triangle, right? Like maybe Icelander beats Dromai and then Phi beats Icelander, right? Like that's the dichotomy, or not the dichotomy, the tricone you want, or whatever, Triforce. And Monarch draft is very good, but it gets a little wild because you definitely will have packs that have way more one talent over another. And so then reading the signals of what is open can be a little bit challenging at times, because you're like, oh, there's a ton of shadow cards in here. Shadow is totally open, but really it's just like maybe 2 packs out of the 8 have a disproportionate amount of shadow cards compared to light ones. And then, you just wind up in a seat where it's a little iffy, so.
Yeah. I kind of like this pattern that's, because I see Monarch as kind of like the icebreaker, right? It's still 4 heroes, You can still just have everybody safely reading their seat and in their own category, like playing it correctly, but they introduced talents, which kind of mix it up, right? And then I really, really enjoyed Arya and the kind of like, I don't know what you call it, like asymmetrical, or like the numbers didn't line up.
Yeah.
I think it makes like for a really interesting dynamic at the draft table. But each character could still use two talents, and everything was evenly dispersed that way. So to me, moving up from Monarch through Tales, and now we're going to see Uprising. I very much enjoyed how they've developed the mechanics of draft. So, I really enjoy that it's 3 heroes, and I'm like really interested to see how they're going to balance this out, in some sort of asymmetrical way, but it still like works functionally for a draft. I actually enjoy like Arya a lot more than like, Welcome to Wraith or something, which is just my personal preference. But, I mean, they've been doing a great job. I think it's going to be pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, Flesh and Blood draft is just so incredible. And I'm with you. I think Tales of Aria is great. I got to jam some Tales of Aria drafts again at the Pro Tour, and that was like just so much fun, just to kind of revisit it and be like, oh my god, wow, like that was such a cool interaction here, and that's so cool that like even to explore Lexi a little bit, which I had never really done as much while it was like kind of in the season. I guess my only real, not issue, or just kind of my one note for Tales of Aria was it kind of felt like they wanted it to be, oh, there could be like 2 or 3 Oldhams at the table. One's more earth and one's more ice. But it turned out, the earth just was way more overpowered. I don't think like the different sides of each hero were as balanced as they should be. And hopefully this is where they kind of address something like that, though I guess they're not both pulling from the same element pool or whatever. But yeah, no, super excited for Uprising though. It's just going to feel good to draft a new set, honestly, and explore it. And we're going to have so many more players drafting this set than we did Tales and any other previous set before that the format's going to warp so much. Like we saw how much it warped with Tales of Aria, where everybody's like Briar, and then it was like, oh, hold them. And then towards the end, it felt like, oh, everybody else is doing those 2 guys. I'm going Lexi, and I'm going to destroy the whole draft. So yeah, it'll be really cool to kind of see that kind of progression. That's like one of the best things about draft too, is just seeing how the player perception of draft of the format changes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one of my critiques right now with the seasons of play is that, I mean, currently ProQuest Season 2 is like kind of a snooze fest because it's the exact same meta, right? But it's also simultaneously like too short, right? Like 4 weeks is like too short. You know what I mean? And when we had Road to Nats last summer, it was like 6 weeks long, and that even felt like too short. You know what I mean? So I would actually like them to like maybe bump it up to like 6 weeks. My point being is like, and I guess they do this probably based around like large events to make sure the coverage is like cool. Like if we solve the format fully before the event, then there's no surprises, and it's maybe less of a cool viewing situation, because I would assume Nationals is going to be Uprising dual format draft. Maybe Pro Tour 2 is for sure dual with Uprising draft. And I'm wondering if Road to Nats is going to be a draft season. That would be really cool if they did that.
Whoa.
Oh my god.
That would be awesome.
That would be so sick.
Yeah, it would be super, super dope. I mean, I think they kind of did try, they put their feelers out with like skirmish season last year and the welcome to Wraith or the farewell to Wraith stuff, people have some now idea, stores do, of the logistics of a draft and stuff. So it could be possible. That being said, it's just such like a crazy puzzle, 2 heroes in the same talent, one that has nothing to do with them, that there's got to be some sort of elegant way they have thought of this, right? Like the things we've come up with are just like stupid band-aids that our tiny brains can't figure out, but I'm sure just like we saw in all the other drafts that there was an elegance to how you have to pick cards to create tension and that sort of thing within the draft. So I'm excited to figure that out as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be, and maybe this is almost a benefit of all the sets not being draftable, is that we get a little more excited for these draftable sets.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. We'll see how they continue to do, because we're supposed to get another supplemental set this year, and
Right.
We'll see if they try to push it into some kind of draftable format, or at least like a sealed format. But no, I echo a lot of your guys' thoughts on Uprising. It's, are you guys excited to play any of the 3 heroes in Constructed?
Oh yeah, I'm a staunch like Viserai lover, but after Icelander in Blitz from Everfest, she may be overtaking Viserai in the place in my heart. It's just that cool, and for some reason speaks to me. So I'm really excited to just turn all my opponents into ice cubes and then walk away from the table,
Have you guys played the fire breathing tech in Icelander Blitz?
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Oh god. I mean, yeah. I played against it 2 weekends ago, and I was like, "Oh my god, what is this?" I don't play a lot of Blitz.
12. Okay.
Yeah, or just crack an Arsenal if you overblock for 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But
yeah, I'm pretty excited about Dromai, the new illusionist, just because I really, really like illusionist, but Prism doesn't really speak to me personally, that flavor. And none of my main characters are going to get any upgrades for quite a long time, so I'm going to be diving into into that camp.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that Phi it kind of expands or explores the design space of Ninja a little bit more than we've seen. I think there's a lot to be explored with Ninja, and I don't want to see like Kadachi whatever anymore. I want to see something really neat. So, yeah.
I mean, it would be cool if there was like, who knows? There could be like Ninja's kind of about those like one, just like on hit triggers, so maybe there's like, some sort of flames you're creating when attacks hit, and if you get so many tokens, then you get to play something out of the graveyard or something, because he's kind of more Phoenix traded. So I agree that Ninja is for me, the most vanilla class that we have in the game, and that we need a new one to really spice it up, and not spice it up in the way of like trying to pummel your open the center, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I agree. I I like the idea of the Phoenix theme with Phi. What we haven't, I haven't seen much except for what Dromai's doing. So, and obviously whatever Icelander's been doing. So I think the biggest mystery here is going to be Phi leading into the spoiler season. So, yeah.
Yeah, and like I'm also always excited about the weapons everybody gets, right? Like, are they just reprinting Kraken in this set? That seems weird, right? Or is she going to have a whole new staff? What's Dromai's weapon looking like? maybe we get a 2-handed weapon for a ninja that doesn't suck. It's gonna be cool.
Well, she's gonna have to have some kind of token weapon, right? Which Kraken's is a majestic, I think.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think so. I have it right here somewhere. Let me check.
me too.
It is.
It's majestic.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it has to. There's no way they're going to downgrade that, right? So
That would be annoying, to say the least.
yeah, and they don't really do stuff like that. So
No.
yeah, it's I'm pumped up just to get to draft way more, because we really love draft in the Battle Bro household. So can't
It's
wait.
the best way to play. It's the best way to play.
Totally. And there's nothing like if you're over the current CC meta,
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
really will make you want to just get back to some new drafting.
Wait, you guys don't like this meta we're in right now?
Yeah, I do hope, actually, now I'm really tied to the idea that Road to Nats is draft, because we just haven't had a season where we had to compete for draft, but then all of a sudden for nationals, it was like dual format, so hopefully they give us that chance, because that would be cool, because you can get Elo now for how well you do at stuff. So it's kind of important, maybe.
What I really want is team draft.
Hell yeah.
To be start eking its way into some actual tournaments, and that sounds like so much fun. But I see the pup back there.
Yeah, it wouldn't be in an episode of ours if there wasn't some sort of dog pet noise in the background.
She's being very patient. I have to walk her after this.
So yeah, well, anything else you gentlemen want to kind of talk about before we get into our signature segments, our final ones? No surprises here.
Oh, okay, good. I mean, I'm good unless you guys have any more questions for me. I'm here for the ride.
Yeah, totally.
It's been a lot of fun.
I mean, I could chat all day about cardboard, but you got to wrap it up at some point.
You got to wrap it up. That's right. Okay, so on to signature segments. So, Mr. Thomas Fresh, you, I believe, are familiar with our segment Pick, Pass, Pray. It's a draft scenario. I'm going to give you 3 cards. You're going to pick one, pass one, and pray one comes back around.
Can't wait.
Okay, cool. So you get first choices here because you're the guest. So here are the 3 cards. First up, we have Evergreen. It's an earth attack action. This is the red one. So it costs 3, pitches for 1, attacks for 7, defends for 2. And it reads, if Evergreen is played from Arsenal, put it on the bottom of your deck when the combat chain closes. Evergreen, everlasting. Old Arya proverb, to endure. So just remember that, if that flavor text there.
For the next surprise quiz. Got it.
Yeah. So that's the first card. Second card is Plume of Evergrowth, Earth Equipment Headpiece. Defends for 0 and reads, instant, pay 3, destroy Plume of Evergrowth. Return target Earth action card or Earth instant from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. Third and final card is Singeing Steelblade. It's a Rune Blade attack action. It's the red one, so it pitches for 1, costs 1, defends for 3, attacks for 4, and reads, when you attack with Singeing Steelblade, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. So, Tommy Fresh, which one are you going to pick, pass, and pray comes back around?
I think I'm on picking the red Evergreen here. Just because I think the upside on red Evergreen is a little bit higher than the Plume. And I don't want to go right into Rune Blade here. Unless this is pack 1, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And I think, the 3 for 7 is good. That's actually a nice little callback to me and Isaac's episode on the podcast, just 3 for 7s. I think we said that multiple times. It's just like those are good, and I think the evergreen is good enough. I think the one less defense than the Autumn's Touch is to be desired, but yeah, I think the evergreen I want to pick, and then at that point, I want to pass the plume, and then I'm going to pray for the steel blade on the return swing. If I see that on the back, I'm on the back end. I'm hopping into Runeblade, I think.
Awesome.
So that's where I'm at.
I like it. I like it quite a bit. All right, Isaac, where are you at, bro?
This one's really close, but I'm going to pick the plume, and I'm going to pray that the evergreen comes back around. I would love to pick the evergreen, and it has like better recursion than plume does, but plume functions more flexibly in your deck. Like you can use it to fetch something defensive, an Earthlore Surge, all kinds of things. So it can be a defensive or an offensive weapon. It can be anti-fatigue like evergreen, albeit less so. But I think that just grabbing that headpiece first off is a good call. I'm kind of doubting my decision now as I think about this, but I'm going to pray evergreen comes back around because that's a really, really powerful ability.
Yeah, I could see the plume going first here, but it's in my experience, I see them because once I see them in pack 2 and pack 3. I don't know if that's a major bet, in a draft, but I think I just want to go power first, I guess.
Nice.
And then if it was deep blue or anything like that, different story. But yeah, I could see the plume going first, though.
I don't love it. It's just what I'm doing.
Yeah. It's a tough one. That's a tough one.
All right, Taylor, what do you got?
Okay. So I am going to pick plume first. It's kind of the best headpiece we have, and it really fills a really cool role. I think in a lot of decks, it can really fix hands in Briar, so you can get the like non-attack, 0-cost non-attack you need. So like what is it? Why can't I think of the where you fuse and it gets better? The Earth one, 0-cost.
You can't fetch Bramble Spark.
Nope,
because that's not an Earth card.
Not that one. It's
Weave Earth.
Yeah, Weave Earth.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you can go get your Weave Earth. That's free to give you that non-attack action. If you're in Oldheim, it gets you your Summerwood Shelters back, or I've even had it sometimes even get my Evergreen out of the graveyard, or Autumn's Touch when you just have like 4 blues because you've drafted so many blues, and it gets you that red card you need to put on some pressure. I guess you only need 2 blues at that point. So I think it's just really good combo piece in a lot of decks. Just Earth decks is its only drawback. So I'm going to pick that. I am going to pass on Evergreen. I think if I am running a deck that wants 3 for 6, 3 for 7, I can fill that role with either my Guardian class cards or with Autumn's Touches that block for more. And if I need Earth cards, I can find those in different ones. And then because of that, I'm praying that the Singeing comes back. has that free arcane damage, but it's not so much of a finisher as just kind of a good tempo piece. So that's what I'm going with.
All different
And-
picks. Very interesting.
Yeah.
0 out of 3 points, and no. The old switcheroo on you guys.
Oh yeah, totally. Wait, whose podcast is this? Totally.
Alrighty. Yeah,
yeah.
that was a hot pack. That was a good one. Moving on to our next signature segment is Board Game from the Closet. Here at the Attack Action Podcast, we love to play many different games, not just Flesh and Blood. And sometimes we like to share one of those games with you and hope you will appreciate it too. This episode's Board Game from the Closet, or any game from the closet really, is Tommy Fresh's.
This one's exciting because I picked up this game at PAX Unplugged this past year. It's called Eschaton. It is by the studio. I think they make a game called Nexus Infernum as well, but I think it's an indie studio, and it's a really neat game. It's a deck building game, almost a la like Dominion or Ascension, but you also get a map, and on the map there's a phase where you're kind of putting out your like little guys, like you're trying to dominate territories, and what you're doing is you're trying to build up your deck and efficiently with the cards in the shop, and then also move your little guys efficiently around the map and destroy your opponent's like kind of dominance of these different territories. And then also it's got this cool little RNG kind of thing that goes on, like each turn there's a new event, and then there's have a random effect that will like affect the whole round, and then there's also omens, which kind of like give you like a mission to accomplish before the next omen is revealed, and then you get like 7 victory points, which is really cool. And basically the theme of the game is you're building up cultists, and you're trying to be the most influential cult before Armageddon, and have win the favor of demons and deities and stuff like that. So the flavor is really cool. The gameplay is awesome, and a lot of different ways to play it with, like, there's one expansion that I did buy as well, which is really cool. And I recommend it to anybody who likes those kind of games.
Nice.
Yeah, sounds really cool. I just looked at it too. It looks like it has a cool, like, dark gray aesthetic to it too.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. I also looked it up as I was intrigued. I'm just going to read this off. In the game of Eschaton, players seek to lead the most favored cult in the final days before Armageddon. As the world crumbles, the Dark One will favor only a single unholy mass to be his chosen in the vastness of eternity following the cataclysm. All others will be obliterated by his depraved will.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal, man. It's so much fun. Honestly, I play it like nonstop ever since I got it, and
yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys play anything like along those lines, but it's
I really like deck builders for sure.
Yeah.
It's just they're hard to get to the table sometimes because we play so many card games. I mean, I'm always down for more games of different cards, but other people in our friendship circles are like, meh, so sounds really cool.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah,
sweet.
Wow.
Well, I think that's our show. I want to thank you, Tommy Fresh, so much for coming on and hanging out with us. I've had a blast. We've actually been here for way longer than the runtime of the podcast, just kind of hanging out too. So, for sure a bud, and, just great dude. I really appreciate you. If you want to plug any of your social medias, now is the time.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you both. I appreciate you both quite a bit. I look up to you guys. I've I've enjoyed getting to know both of you ever since I've kind of gotten into this content space, the Flesh and Blood world, and it's it's just cool. I mean, I've told both of you, I feel like that listening to your podcast is like hanging out with some friends, like a coffee shop, talking about some cardboard. And, I'm on the podcast and it felt the exact same, like felt pretty at home with you guys. And that's awesome. And, I think all of your listeners can tell as well. So I wanted to thank you and let you know. And in terms of where the folks can find me out there, on Twitter at FreshBudsPod, I'm pretty active on there. The YouTube, you can just search Fresh and Buds, and then the podcast Fresh and Buds on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, the whole gambit. And and I also have a Discord community if anybody's interested, called the Buds, that we kind of just hang out and, sometimes we play games and sometimes we just post food pictures and be like, wow, that looks good. It's just like, it's fun, but and thank you guys.
Cool. We'll have a link to your Discord, right? It's like open to the public, not
Mm-hmm.
Patreon exclusive.
I have a link tree in my Twitter that has all the links and stuff.
Okay, cool. We'll link your Twitter then. Tommy's really active on Twitter. I think basically every tweet I put up, he's the first to like it, or top 3 people. He's just a pleasure on the social medias to interact with. He's got them good gifts.
Big gift
you
guy.
know what I'm saying? So thank you again for all those kind words. It's cool to be someone's role model and friend. It's a great place to be. So really appreciate that. And you have to have me on the podcast again, dude.
Yeah. We're circling back. We're going to circle back.
Cool.
I think this summer, I mean, especially since we're going to have a lot of draft to talk about. I want both of you guys back on. So Sweet. It's going to be great.
Sweet.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, man. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, that's our show, and we'll see you all later. We appreciate you, the listener, and have a great time of day that you're currently having. Goodbye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at the Attack Action Podcast. On Twitter, we are at BattleBro Taylor and at BattleBro Isaac. Shoot us an email, theattackactionpodcast@gmail.com.
If you would like to support us, like and subscribe, shop for singles using our affiliate link, or support our Patreon for as little as $4 per month.